Well, welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, where we talk about all things aviation insurance, safety, past, present, and future. And we've been spending more and more time in the future because the future is becoming the present. And we're seeing emerging technologies, new technologies, changing the way the aviation industry is operating and will continue to evolve into the future. So, one of those big topics is artificial, or what we like to call augmented intelligence, AI. And I brought back two of my expert guests who I love collaborating with, Danny Maco and Art Jimenez, who are, along with me, subject matter experts on this. And so I'm delighted to welcome back Art and Danny to the show. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, we've had introductions on you guys before, but Danny is well experienced in insurtech, telematics, and an AI thought leader, and a thought leader in all these areas. So we're pleased to have him back. And Art Jimenez has been a longtime expert, entrepreneur, developer, programmer in the aviation and insurance space. And when it comes to programming in this industry, a lot of people first call Art. So we're really pleased to have these gentlemen and their expertise again as we dive deeper into the world of AI. And for this episode, and we're going to have a two-part series here, we're going to talk about how artificial intelligence is and going to impact the brokerage or agent community on the aviation insurance side. And of course, anything that affects agents and underwriters affects everybody. And so we're just going to focus for this conversation on the agent side. And obviously, AI is here today. We have an insurance company now, a new one that's come out that uses AI and telematics, technology right from the get-go. And we have our legacy carriers that are working behind the scenes to adopt and implement AI practices, and obviously brokerages are doing the same. Now, a lot of them are not yet because they don't know, and that's why what we have to discuss today is important. And so, just right off the bat, there is all this noise. I've just made quite a bit of it myself, and I have been on past podcast episodes around AI and the aviation insurance community. So um, the first question I have, and I'll start with you, Art, is what do you think are the emerging advantages of AI for aviation insurance agents today?
Thanks, Tim. So I believe that the biggest advantages are going to be in efficiency gains and improved accuracy on submissions. There's a lot of benefit when you get into that. Number one, faster processing, greater bandwidth that you can handle. Because you have cleaner submissions, there's not going to be as much back and forth between the agents and the underwriters, and also providing a much better feedback mechanism to the clients when there is data that needs to be additional data that needs to be collected, so that a submission can be properly reviewed and underwritten.
Yeah, and I know you're involved with the Aviation Insurance Association's project that
Yes.
I was originally involved with, and in creating some standard communication to improve efficiency in the communication between agents and carriers. And I know that's having great success, and not really the subject of this particular podcast, but just curious. I know you're both actually. Danny's involved as well.
Mhm.
Could you just give the quick overview of what the new, one of the thing is tracking in numbers is a challenge and making models, but can you just give a quick kind of summary of kind of the new tech, I guess the standard would be for that we're working to implement for the aviation insurance industry?
Yeah, absolutely. We are working on a standardized make and model identification mechanism through AIA. We are heavily using AI in the development of this system. It will basically provide the ability for an agent to get accurate information and a standard make and model name for any aircraft that may be insured. One of the issues that we run into is everybody kind of rolls their own list right now. Every underwriter has their own version of their make and model list, and so agents have to figure out how to make sure that when they're submitting their submissions to different underwriters, they've got to match up that make and model list. It just creates a lot of inaccuracies. Um, and one area in specific where it's really difficult is amateur built aircraft, experimental aircraft, and that the manufacturer is the name of the person who actually put the kit together.
Yeah.
Um, and the model is whatever model name they chose to give it. Um, so it's all over the place. So we're using AI heavily to help us mm, build a standard list and then also attach all those FAA model numbers to that standard list. Um, and that should dramatically improve the ability for agents and underwriters to effectively and accurately communicate with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it goes right along the lines of improved accuracy and efficiency gains, not only for the agents and underwriters, but then consequently for the customers we serve. So it's nice to have an industry, collaborating in a way that's, non-proprietary to, improve the efficiencies and gains. But that's a specific action happening right now, and I've seen the progress, and it's very exciting. So speaking of that impact on the customer, Danny, would you speak to, the enhanced customer experience that this new AI world brings?
Yeah, AI can be great for enhancing the customer experience, but I think it comes down to the difference between doubling down and enhancing the person-to-person experience versus automation for optimization sake, which tends to lead to, I believe, detachment from the policyholder and from the customer. I think it's important to remember that, at its best, insurance is about having someone, a real person, who's there when your customer needs you most. And so, all innovation efforts, including AI, need to be focused on that objective. Um, I think also, you know, from an internal perspective, training and onboarding is another area where we're going to see great advances. AI is going to speed up the ability to onboard and
Right.
augment new staff quickly. And that goes for customer service centers, for agents, for claims adjusters. It's also going to be a lot easier for organizations to provide upskilling tools for their employees at much lower cost, so that for those who wish and can take, they can take the initiative and advance to leadership roles more quickly through the organization than they were ever able to do so before.
Yeah, one of the advantages, if I could jump in too on the training side, is that it also enables agencies to provide real training to every one of their agents as they onboard them in a very consistent fashion. Um, the training mechanisms that are available in AI are very interactive. So if you feel like you're working with a person, and you can have a little advisor panel that's sitting there advising you on how to move forward as you go through the process of engaging with customers. And it helps the agency kind of establish what the culture of their agency is and maintain that culture across all their agents.
Yeah, I mean, and there are, AI is a broad term, and there are agents that serve a lot of purposes. So some of these could be the efficiencies. I mean, effectively what you're talking about is kind of a knowledge base on massive steroids that you can converse with, get, very detailed and specific information with. And then, obviously, there's all kinds of automations and efficiencies. So AI is a broad term, but with massive capability to accomplish all of these things, including, expanding your markets. So Danny, you want to touch on kind of how that may impact agents?
Yeah, no, I think when for you, you mentioned a little bit earlier that we prefer the term augmented intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And so, for those that are taking the augmented approach, there's going to be ample opportunity to expand their market share. through the efficiencies that are gained through AI, you're now going to be able to serve more clients with less overhead, and so have much higher throughput of quality interactions with your customers, while also I believe it's going to open up opportunities in underserved markets, because there are many markets that traditionally had much lower margins associated with them, non-traditional markets that were just too costly really to build out products for or to operate at a profit. But I think that AI is going to open those markets and those segments as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, at the end of the day, um, you know, AI is here today. It's not here to replace agents. It's not here to replace underwriters. However, it's clear that with the efficiencies and the effectiveness that it's going to replace the people who do not use it. The people who use it well will thrive and grow, and the people who fail to adapt will slowly, dwindle into non-existence over time. And so I think that's really critical. Today, it's here. We have agents, we have underwriters using it today, and it's being adopted. And some people really don't have an awareness of that, and that's really why conversations like these and people taking the time to learn about it is so key. So we talk about today, these things we just discussed are here. These are the doors it opens, but there's a lot of future uh, possibilities and capabilities and a broader industry impact that can be had. So, you know, I'd just ask, there's a lot to that, but Danny, what would you speak, to some of those future possibilities and that impact can have on the industry? So we see that, all the efficiencies that AI can provide to agencies and to the industry, but there are future possibilities and capabilities that are still to come. And so, Danny, would you speak to some of that?
Sure. I think, certainly AI is going to be a huge boon for predictive analytics. If you think about life before AI, there was vast amounts of data that had to be collected. A data scientist would have to build an architecture and preconceive of how that data should come together to be able to do analysis, et cetera. And then agents would have access to reports and systems that have that predetermined data and relationships, et cetera, which was effective. But now imagine a world where the data, the amount of data that can be analyzed and the speed at which it can be analyzed has uh, dramatically increased. And for an agent who is interacting with a system, being able to, as they enter data related to a policyholder or a particular situation, that the on the back end, the AI is able to dynamically evaluate risk, of, personalize the risk profiles and pricing for that policyholder, and do that not only in a dynamic and much more real time way, but even take into consideration changing dynamics in the marketplace. Think of wildfires or hurricanes coming in, et cetera, and doing and having the AI do additional new analysis to come up with different parameters and different outcomes. Now, certainly, there's all sorts of regulatory and regulatory approval elements and regulation that is tied into that as far as how quickly these types of things can move. But certainly, AI is opening that capability up for everyone, and that's going to allow agents to better forecast claim risks, to optimize their pricing strategies, and certainly should boost profitability as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, these predictive analysis can apply to the pilot tool as well, but that's a subject for another day. But when you incorporate these predictive analytics along with the telematics, it brings a whole new element to what agents can bring to underwriters and demonstrating risks, showing pilot safety, pilot you know proven track records, which, does a lot of things. It improves, the opportunity for better pricing and also, for giving a pathway to those senior airmen looking to continue to fly longer. And so, yeah, a lot of excitement coming along there.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add too is that as we're looking at predictive analytics, one of the things that AI is very good at is looking at past history. Um, we can look at things like the pilot's last 90 days of flight, and based on that, provide a predictive analysis of this individual's flying characteristics, flying capabilities, and do some prediction about how safe he's going to fly for the next 90 days to the next year. So again, adding and enhancing the ability to make better decisions and underwriting based on this predictive analytics.
Yeah, and that's good because we're going to be talking about the underwriters in our next episode, and so that's exciting to see. You know, how agents can embrace these things, bring them to underwriters, and transform how they're able to underwrite risks. But how about scalability, Art? What are your thoughts on that?
So one of the big advantages of using AI as an agent is the fact that you can scale your ability to service your customers to a level that was previously unimaginable. You basically, one of the things that we say is it's augmentation in augmented intelligence, and it's like having a super intelligent assistant sitting at your right hand that can handle research, quick tasks, production, and very, very, very good detailed analysis of information and provide feedback on that. It lets the agent focus on the relationships and focus on the bigger picture, which allows them to provide much better service at a larger scale. A single agent will be able to handle, 5 to 10 times more business than they previously did, providing even better service than they previously did. So the scalability, the ability to scale your business and scale your customer base will improve dramatically with the use of AI.
They say that the one thing we all have in common, we all have the same amount of time,
Mhm.
and that's true. One person doesn't have 25 hours versus 23. However, what this does is it does create a form of additional time, and I think that speaks to the capability as you embrace and implement these new capabilities. You can do things better, bigger, faster, and cheaper, and so you end up with more time to do those high value activities, the relationship building, the people work, and other high value activities that will help you create value and grow. And so I think that's just something that stands out to me is it takes and it does give you a time advantage, not just a time but a quality advantage because of all these other things we've talked about with data accuracy and communication and so on and so forth. And I would imagine that would lead to a higher job satisfaction. What do you think, Art?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that from a satisfaction standpoint, uh, you get to step away from the mundane, rote tasks. You get to really focus on innovation. You get to focus on the relationships. You get to focus on thinking through a good solution to your customers' needs, and getting valuable feedback from these AI agents that you can use to help you formulate great responses. Um, uh, and there's nothing better than having somebody present a problem to you and being able to turn around and give them a great solution. Something that really meets their needs, that satisfies uh, their their desires for their insurance needs, and knowing that when they do need you the most, they will be properly covered. Just, I mean, tremendous job satisfaction, I think. I know like personally, I love using AI to build prototypes for systems, and being able to sit down with a potential customer and just actually show them on the screen, this is what your system could look like. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. And again, it's trying to understand the customer's needs and using AI to help you in that endeavor. Um, it's just a great tool.
Absolutely. And, depending on your role, it could, you know, dramatically assist with what you're doing, those lower value activities. I mean, I think Art, we've had conversations where you speak to the role that AI has played in um, you know, augmenting your capabilities and influencing. I mean, would you speak to that real quick as to kind of what, from a
Sure.
percentage or a measurable amount that,
Yeah.
using AI to do what you do well, you know, how much of your work and efficiency is improved as a result of you using these tools?
So I'll give you an example I'm working on right now. I'm putting together a proposal for a system that uh, 2 years ago would have been a 2 year long project, several $1 million. And now we're looking at a 6 to 8 month project and probably under 200K. Uh, and that's for a large dramatic system. So you see right there the massive improvement on scalability. And I can also guarantee you that the result that we will deliver to this customer will be dramatically better than what we would have delivered 2 to 3 years ago prior to using AI.
Right.
Uh,
And yeah, I was just going to say, you've worked on systems for agents and brokers, and of course, Danny has, been a consultant and advisor to many insure and insure tech companies. And, you've got a lot of different systems that ultimately do best when they can work together. So, maybe Danny, you could speak to kind of, the impact of AI on these collaborative ecosystems that really need to work together in order to achieve, these optimal efficiency results.
Yeah, when you think about it, traditionally, when you look at it, carriers and brokers and agents and policyholder, they're very siloed with respect to their systems and their data, and thus also their interaction. While an agent may be using a system that is tied to the carrier, there isn't a lot of collaborative flow of information or real time interaction. I think with AI, those walls will start dropping to where an interaction with a policyholder or a new potential customer, the data and the interaction and the recommendations that are coming to the agent and going to the carrier will be much more streamlined from a workflow perspective, as well as a engagement between those different parties. Imagine in a claims situation where data and relevant information is flowing so quickly that you can transition quickly from the policyholder and their claim need to the agent to immediate getting input from someone on the carrier side, et cetera. Also, those systems historically have been, they become legacy and are very difficult to either transition or replace. And I think with AI and the ease at which data is being integrated through APIs and the dynamic layers of AI based layers, that even evolutions from one platform to another or additions to of new data to augment the processes or new features that flow all the way through that the life cycle and those stakeholders, that those are all going to become faster and faster and more interactive.
yeah, and when you start thinking in terms of ecosystems and those collaborative interactions, you know, you part of what you have to do is think also how it's going to change how we collect data. Um, right now agents are getting information from the customers and having to transpose that information into another system that will then transport it to somebody else. Now, imagine a scenario where instead of having a pilot having to give you all of their information, they can just send you a picture of their pilot certificate, front and back. And AI can extract all of their ratings, everything about their certification straight off a picture of their pilot certificate. No data entry needed to be. Can't get more accurate than that. Um, you can import somebody's electronic logbook from ForeFlight or whichever service you may be using, and AI can extract all of the relevant pilot hours from that. And that carries down because it carries from the agent to the underwriter. Again, more accurate, more information. We can come up with standards for how to submit the data. And build a real ecosystem where the interactions back and forth are clean, streamlined, and highly accurate. And again, just improving everybody's efficiency, accuracy, and job satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, one of the things I want to hit on is, we talk conceptually, but those are very practical applications and
Mhm.
the AI can go, I mean, you're just scratching the surface because it can go get real-time information from the FAA. It can, it can extract from PDFs that may exist. So it, basically, you know, as you said, an agent today may get information in one of many different sources, an email, a PDF, a picture of something, um, you know, and you may be going to old databases, and this brings everything into real time, minimal effort, and then, um, through, as Danny indicated, through APIs and other tools, this can be directly communicated with accuracy, to the carrier, greatly improving efficiency and effectiveness. Ultimately, not just for the agent, but for the industry and this customer, because the customer wins in all these things. And, this is just on the technology side. We're not even, getting into, all of the inputs that the telematics, bring to it. And we'll talk maybe about that a little bit with data-driven underwriting, in one of the upcoming episodes. But it's a game changer if it's adopted right. And, it can definitely be a growth agent if it's adopted at all and implemented. And if it's not a focus of an agency or an agent, it needs to be today because it's here. And we've known for a while it's coming, and and even I listen to a number of interviews and kind of stay up to date on what's coming. But a lot of the technologies come faster. For instance, at OpenAI, I heard the chief technology say some of their technology is growing and adapting faster than they even anticipated. And so, that's why it's important to be on the ball today because then, there's less to catch up with. And so, and oftentimes, we're wondering, well, how do I do that? And I think at the end of the day, it's not about you learning to do it all yourself. Sometimes it's about having the right people, engaging with the right partners to help you get it there. That's why, I visit with you two gentlemen all the time, subject matter experts who can help bring these things to fruition. And so, I can speak as an agent to this audience who may be listening, and I know that will be agents. I know there'll be underwriters, insurance professionals, but also customers, because ultimately there's so much that AI and these emerging technologies can bring to the customer in terms of improved product, um, you know, um, the reward for good and safe flying, the ability to give a pathway to senior airmen to flying longer, and there's just so many tremendous benefits. But you know, speaking to the agent specifically, as we have today, you know, we just hit on some key things. Efficiency gain and improved accuracy, the enhanced customer service, the increased training and onboarding for new team members, market expansion, predictive analysis for optimizing, pricing, safety, effectiveness for the industry, scalability, job satisfaction, bringing together all these collaborative ecosystems. And so AI is here. I've coined, as far as your business AI or die. Um, it's just so critical. That's why these conversations are so massive. And so, with that, I would just ask, Art first, any closing thoughts as it applies to this discussion with AI as it relates to agents and agencies?
Yeah, the one thing I would say from a closing perspective is AI is a generally available tool, and don't be scared to go use it just because you think, oh, we're a small agency.
Yes.
It's the small agencies that would benefit the most, that would have the ability to stand on par with some of the large agencies because they have the ability to augment their ability to serve their customers at a scale and at a level of accuracy that previously was unthought of. The cost entry point on these things is not that high. Um, and your return on investment is almost immediate. So don't be scared, small or large, go after it. It will help you more than you could believe.
Absolutely, and it's often smaller companies that can make more massive shifts because they have, you know it's easier to turn a small ship than a big ship because there's less moving parts and mass. So it's a real opportunity for small and medium-sized agents, absolutely. Danny, how about you?
I would maybe uh, emphasize what Art has said in that, in terms of Nike, just do it. The I think for smaller organizations, that fear of the unknown, as well as just having resource constraints and thinking that this is going to be, overwhelming, I'll start tomorrow. um, that's a natural barrier. But I would encourage the smaller organizations to, reach out to partners who can help and guide your organization in a way that is, optimizes the things that you focus on first, minimize costs associated with execution, be able to alleviate fears associated with, from a data privacy perspective, should I be using this versus that? All of those types of things. But whatever it is, just get started, because everything moves so quickly that every day that you delay, you're falling a week behind. And
Absolutely, and to the point, you know, uh, Dan Sullivan, who's the founder of Strategic Coach, which is a program that coaches entrepreneurs to have high impact. He talks about having the right who. A lot of times we don't have a lack of ideas, we don't have a lack of needs, we don't have the right who in order to accomplish it. We can't be aviation insurance professionals, IT professionals, safety, risk management, bookkeeping, marketing, and all those things and do them all effectively. So we have to have the right who's. And on that note, that would just be my encouragement to agents. If you're confused or want to know more, the three people on this call would be people I'd connect with. And so, in the show notes, as this is posted, we'll have um, each one of our names on there that you can connect on LinkedIn or wherever it might be. And to reach out, we'd love to continue these conversations with you. So, Art and Danny, thank you for your time today talking about AI as it applies to agents specifically. And we're coming back. We're going to do the next episode. We're going to talk about how this applies to the underwriting world. So stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, thank you for this discussion.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Danny.
thanks for the opportunity, Tim. It was great seeing you guys.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned again to the next episode as we talk about aviation insurance, AI, and underwriters. That's all for this episode. Join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance. Until then, enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.